Over the last couple of weeks, I watched some movies, and two of the movies that I watched, I want to use as examples. In one of the movies, the lead character was, I believe, an ISTJ. And in the other movie, the lead character was, I believe, an INTJ. Now, in both of these movies, the characters are extreme. So I want to put a disclaimer right now. I am not saying that all ISTJs and INTJs are like these two characters in the sense that they are as extreme as these two characters. Most will not be anything like that at all. But what I want to do is I want to draw attention to the extreme behaviors or the extremities of these two characters and contrast them so that you could perhaps encounter or observe in daily life an ISTJ or an INTJ and be able to say, okay, well, this is not an extreme human being like that, but I can see how this person is a scaled back and more normal version of what I see in these two people. So please understand, I'm not criticizing ISTJs or INTJs because I'm drawing attention to the extreme behaviors of these two characters in these movies, but you can use them to help identify the difference between an ISTJ and an INTJ. So the two movies are on the one side, a movie called Phantom Thread that starred Daniel Day-Lewis as a 1950s London dressmaker named Reynolds Woodcock. And I believe that he is, in the movie, an ISTJ. Now, keep in mind that with movie characters, trying to type them always breaks down to an extent because movie characters being fictional, even when they may be a portrayal of a real person, which this was not, they're able to sort of make up for shortcomings that a real person would have, or vice versa, not show virtues that a real person would have. So in a movie, a person could theoretically be all good or all bad. That's not reality. The other movie is Steve Jobs, where we're talking about a real person. Now, please understand, I am not typing Steve Jobs as an INTJ. I have watched very little of the actual man, Steve Jobs. I do not know his type. But in the movie, the portrayal of him, in my opinion, is an INTJ portrayal. He comes off as a very INTJ human being. But again, to an oh my gosh extreme, not all INTJs will come off quite that way. So let's just take a look at these two characters. Now, if you really want to see what I'm talking about and understand, it would do you well to go watch these two movies, the Steve Jobs movie and this movie, Phantom Thread. But I will try to put forth the information in such a way that even if you haven't seen the movies, you can still glean some information or understanding. So the two characters are both people who want things very much to be a certain way. And it's very important to them that that way be adhered to by anyone in their circle or anyone who is affecting their lives. And that is going to be true of the IJs in general, and will often be true, by the way, of the IPs as well, okay? So what they're going to look for is a situation where they can establish for themselves a life that is built a certain way and functions in a certain manner. And they're going to want everyone else and sometimes expect everyone else to sort of fall in line with their way and try to create an environment for themselves where everything is as they order it. Now, for the ISTJ, that is going to be more in the physical world. And what we see with Reynolds Woodcock in the movie A Phantom Thread, is that he has a very structured physical realm. He expects his breakfast to be at a certain time and in a certain place. He expects the food to be certain food, cooked a very certain way. And this is a theme and a pattern throughout his life. He expects his events and his physical world to be very ordered, and he expects those with who are brought into that realm to fall in line and help him effectively to maintain this very ordered physical world. And when anyone does not fall in line and provide for him the ordered physical existence that he expects, then he often lashes out at them. Now, on the Steve Jobs side, the INTJ side, he also expects those around him to fall in line with his order, but his order is not so much in the physical world. What we see from the Steve Jobs character in the movie is that his physical realm can vary. He isn't so committed to, no, everything must be physically organized and arranged in a certain way, but rather it is his intuitive realm, his ideological realm. He establishes a direction or a path that he sees the future going, and he expects others to fall in line with that and to follow him on the path that he has established, and to follow him in the way that he directs them and that he expects them to do in order to make sure that his plan, his path is brought forth and manifest into reality. Both people, the ISTJ and the INTJ, are looking for other people to see the structure that they have created, and if those people are going to insert themselves into this person's reality, then they need to sort of get with the program, basically, and help them or fall in line with the ordering of things as the ISTJ or the INTJ sees fit. But that ordering is in two different realms. For the ISTJ, it's in the physical realm, literally making sure that the plan for the day goes a certain way, that the room may be laid out a certain way, that the house is organized a certain way. For the INTJ, it's the ordering of ideas. This is the idea. This is what the idea that we're moving on. This is what we're trying to do and create. And everybody needs to sort of get in line with that vision. Now, interestingly, where we'll see both characters line up is in that extroverted thinking second function. Both of them are willing to do the thing in the way that best gets it done. They are less married to the, everything must be accomplished in a very specific way, and more, we need to accomplish in whatever way brings about the proper ordering of and manifestation of either the physical reality or the idea that we're trying to create. Now, what you'll find oftentimes with people who favor thinking over feeling is that their communication can be a little stern. They are more concerned with the communication of the truth and the accuracy of the information, or getting the point across to make sure that the thing gets done. They're more concerned with that than they are with how does it make you feel. In fact, with having extroverted thinking, they then, as their third function, have introverted feeling. So they're more concerned with, do I like this? And is this how I want things to be? Than they are concerned with, how do you feel about that? And so what you'll find with both characters is that they have a communication style that rubs against the people around them in a rather sandpapery way. They're so concerned with making sure that the thing gets done, and that the thing gets done in the way that they want it done, which in their mind is what is the best way, out of the spectrum of ways that you can do it, because extroverted thinking is looking at the spectrum of ways that you can accomplish a task and saying, okay, I see all the different ways that you could do this, but I think this is the best way. So now going back to that SI or NI, everybody needs to get in line to bring about the physical or the intuitive reality that I want. And everybody, I've looked at all the different ways you can do this, and I'm telling you all this is the best way. This is the TE, extroverted thinking, best way to do it. And so now all of you need to get in line and extroverted thinkingly do the thing the way that I want it so that we can ISTJ bring about the physical reality that we want, or INTJ manifest the path and the idea that I want. Everybody get in line with that. And it makes their FI, their third slot introverted feeling, happy when that works out properly. So that communication oftentimes comes off a little harsh, a little cold. It can be a little difficult to take that instruction from an ISTJ or an INTJ because they are likely to communicate it in a way that is not as concerned with how does it make you feel as, let's say, a high extroverted feeling person might try to communicate. So with both of these characters, what you see is that they often alienate or hurt the feelings of the people that are in their realm, the people that they're actually trying to work with. And oftentimes they're not completely aware of that, or they might not really care about that. In fact, in the Steve Jobs movie, he literally says, and I don't know if this is a quote from the real Steve Jobs or if this was a made-up quote for the movie, but he says, someone asks him, why do you want people to dislike you? And he says, I don't want them to dislike me. I just don't care if they like me or not. And that can be a thinking above feeling reality, especially a higher TE, lower FI, especially when it's in the middle. The TE second with the FI third, I think can have that attitude to a little bit. It's more concerned with truth than it is with feeling. It's more concerned with getting things done than it is with, having a warm fuzzy. It doesn't have the extroverted feeling that's checking in with the feelings of the group. And so what you're going to see with the ISTJ and the INTJ is that they both may have this reality about them because they both have the same second and third function. Where the difference comes in is in those higher functions, that SI versus that NI. Is this person really concerned with the proper ordering of the physical world, or is this person concerned with the proper ordering of the intuitive or ideological world? Does this person say, if we organize everything a certain way in the physical world, then everything will be great? Or are they saying, if we are able to manifest this plan that I've created, if we're able to bring about this wonderful idea that I have in my mind, then everything will be great. That's going to be the huge divergence. Now, another area where we can see this divergence comes all the way down to the fourth function. And there are a couple of really interesting events in both of the movies that show us this fourth slot function in each of the two types. So let's start with the ISTJ. In the movie Phantom Thread, there is a scene where Reynolds Woodcock, the dressmaker, the ISTJ, is sitting at a desk talking to his sister who runs all of his affairs. And his sister is talking about the fact that their dressmaking endeavor is suffering. They're losing clientele. And Reynolds Woodcock is rather oblivious to this. He doesn't realize that they're losing this clientele. And he certainly doesn't realize why they're losing the clientele. Okay, he's very, I've got my structured world, and that's what I'm focused on. Very unaware of the extroverted sensing, what's going on out there in the world, because he has introverted sensing, and very unaware of the extroverted feeling. How does everybody else feel about me? What do people value? Are people still valuing the dresses that I'm making? Because he has introverted feeling, he's not checking in with do people value what I'm doing, right? He's lost track of that. And now we get all the way down to that fourth slot extroverted intuition, which is, am I out there exploring new ideas? Well, with fourth slot functions, they'll do it from time to time, but it's really immature and sporadic. So as a general rule, this extreme ISTJ in this movie is not using his fourth slot function to check in with extroverted ideas, to go out there into the world and see what ideas people have, okay? He's just narrowed down on his little physical realm, and he's not noticing what is going on in the world around him. So she says to him, his sister says to him, that his dresses are not chic. Now, he says to her something to the effect of, don't use that word chic around me. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Now, that extroverted intuition fourth function is saying, whoa, you're presenting new ideas to me and I haven't explored them. I don't understand them. Now, extroverted intuition as a fourth function is still going to be better at exploring new ideas than introverted intuition will be in any of its functions. But at the same time, as a general rule, he's not using that extroverted intuition very much. So he hasn't explored the ideas that people in the world are putting forth. He's unaware that there is this idea of chic, or more accurately, he's aware of it. But with his desire to not have to be bombarded or bothered with new ideas, he has pushed that away. He has ignored it, and he is unaware not of its existence but of its meaning. He doesn't understand why people value it. He doesn't understand why this extroverted intuition idea is out there. And oh, by the way, chic dresses must be a physical thing, right? He hasn't gone out and extroverted sensing, explored the physical world to find out all of the things that are out there that it has to offer. He's locked into his little introverted sensing box, and he's really only aware of what is in that box. Now, that box served him well earlier in his life when his dresses were extroverted feeling valued by the group, or maybe when they were extroverted sensing something physically new to people, but now they've become stale. They're no longer extroverted feeling valued. There are new extroverted intuition ideas about dressmaking, and he is locked in his little introverted sensing, introverted feeling box and is unaware. Now, that will not be uncommon for an ISTJ, to be unaware of the other ideas that are out there, maybe even fearful to an extent of other ideas. Now, you have to be careful not to confuse that with introverted intuition, because introverted intuition, it may not necessarily be fearful of a new idea, but when it takes one, it's going to very quickly say, can I accept this or not? No, I can't. I throw it out, and I just keep on narrowing down on my one pre-existing idea. And that's what we see with Steve Jobs. Within I at the top, there is this scene in the Steve Jobs movie where Steve Wozniak, who is the primary computer software and hardware designer for Steve Jobs, is telling Steve Jobs, the only way this computer that you're envisioning in your mind is going to sell is if we make it adaptable so that people can modify it and use it with multiple pieces of hardware. But Steve Jobs, with his extremely strong introverted intuition, already has an idea of exactly what the computer should be. And he's saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to make it a closed system so people cannot tamper with it, they can't modify it, and they can't use it with other companies' equipment. He's got this narrowed down introverted intuition idea and path that he intends to move forward on. And people with more ideas, people with more wide variety of extroverted intuition ideas, or people who have gone out there and extroverted sensing, seen the different possibilities, or people who extroverted feeling have taken the time to see what others value. Steve Wozniak is saying, listen to me, other people value the ability to modify the computer and interface it with other companies' hardware. And Jobs, with his already narrowed down introverted intuition idea of the way he wants to go, and his introverted feeling, this has to be what I like. I don't care about what all the other people value. It's got to be what I value, is dead set. We will not make this computer modifiable, and we will not make it able to interface with other companies' equipment. Now, because of his narrowness in this area, his computer that he creates ends up failing. He doesn't take the time to check in with the extroverted feeling values of the group. He doesn't take the time to go extroverted sensing. Now, this is his fourth function, right? He doesn't take the time to go extroverted sensing, find out the actual statistical data, the facts, go out there and look at what's out there and say, yeah, I do see with my extroverted sensing, like I go out and I'm going to go experience the physical world and find out that there is this other way. No, I've already introverted intuition narrowed down on my way, and this is the way it has to be. And no one can change his mind. Now, there's another interesting scene in the movie that of Steve Jobs that demonstrates this fourth slot extroverted sensing that an INTJ has. There's a Time magazine, and he's mad about the Time magazine article and the cover. And he rants and raves early in the movie about how horrible this Time magazine article makes him out to be and how bad the cover is and how he was supposed to win Man of the Year and all these things, okay? And you'll have to watch the movie to understand the intricacies of it. It would take way too long to explain it. But later in the movie, his number one confidant says to him, hey, remember that Time magazine cover that you were so mad about a few years ago? And he says, yeah. And she says, what was on that cover? And he tells her, and he's wrong. And she says, that is not what was on the cover. Let me tell you what was actually on the cover. You misunderstood what you saw on that cover. Now, that is an example of fourth slot extroverted sensing, especially paired with that first slot introverted intuition. It's a product of introverted intuition. I've already decided, I already know the truth about the physical world. But then that failure to actually check in with the extroverted sensing, I'm going to take the time to go look at the physical world and figure out what is actually going on. It's a prejudging, it's a pre-deciding, it's a pre-knowledge. It's an I already have the knowledge that I need to make a decision about this. And then sometime later finding out you didn't have the knowledge. You guessed, you believed you knew, but you didn't actually take the extroverted sensing time to look, to take in the physical world, the physical data, to decide, do I really know? And that's something that you'll see with people who have NI first and SE fourth, is that they will sometimes make a rash judgment, a rash conclusion about what they think they know about the physical world. But then they will find out later that their conclusion was wrong. And the reason that it was wrong was because they didn't actually take the time to use that fourth slot extroverted sensing to look or listen or pay attention to the physical world before they drew their conclusion. High NI people will draw conclusions sometimes without taking in the extroverted sensing data, the physical world, to support it. So in both of these cases, we have these people who, by the way, they're really geniuses. They're geniuses in their field. And oftentimes the IJs are going to be very accomplished and provide and produce things for the world that are very beneficial. IJs provide a wonderful benefit to our world. And I'm not picking on them by making this video. I'm just pointing out what an IJ can look like if they go to an extreme, specifically in this case ITJs, and how you might tell an ISTJ from an INTJ. ISTJs are going to be very focused on the organizing of the physical world in order to bring about sort of a security, to bring about sort of a safety, a known realm that provides them a feeling of comfort. And while they may be more willing to take in ideas than an introverted intuition person, they're only going to do it in fits and bursts. For the most part, they're going to block out, in fact, the ideological realm largely altogether. They're going to be so focused on the physical realm with their high SI and the organizing of the physical realm that they're going to oftentimes neglect going out and experiencing the ideas that people have, or trying to understand the metaphysical realm that exists back of the physical realm. And when you're encountering an INTJ, they're going to be very focused on a plan, on an idea that they have. The physical world around them may suffer. They may not give so much attention at all to the physical world because they're so engulfed in their plan, their idea, this is the way that I'm going to move forward, and everybody needs to sort of fall in line with that. But oftentimes what trips them up is because they have neglected the physical world. They aren't aware of the realities in the physical world that will trip up their plan. We see that in both of these people where their fourth functions actually, their neglect of their fourth functions actually prevent them from accomplishing their first function. Right? Reynolds Woodcock can keep his physical world organized just like he wants so long as his business survives, but his inability to and unwillingness to explore new ideas in the realm of his employment cause his business to suffer, which ultimately, theoretically, could lead to its failure, which would mean then he can no longer organize his physical world the way he wants because his whole physical world will fall down around him. And Steve Jobs can plan out and idea out this amazing computer, but his unwillingness to look at the extroverted sensing evidence that people want it to be a certain way could cause his ideas to trip up and fail, because he may realize his idea and put it out there for the world, and the world may say, well, we don't value that. And he was not extroverted sensing paying attention to that at all. And so the whole thing crumbles around him because his neglect of the physical sensory information did not, that prevented him from allowing it to inform his idea and bring out his idea in a better way. I found these two movies to be extremely fascinating. Now, anytime again that you're trying to compare fictional characters to and I know Steve Jobs is real, but any movie portrayal of a person still has an element of fiction to it. Anytime you're trying to say, oh, this fictional character is a certain personality type, it's always going to break down because they don't have to adhere to that because they can do anything with a fictional character. But I hope that in some ways this might help you to understand these two personality types, as I think it was a very fascinating exploration of these two people. Thank you so much for watching and bearing with me. This was like the longest video ever. Please click like if you found it useful, informational or entertaining. Please subscribe if you have not already. And if you're benefiting from my channel and would like to donate financially to what I'm doing, there will be a link in the description below that you can do that. Thank you so much and have an awesome day. Bye now.